A few days ago, I asked on my work in progress account if I should combine every version of Lara into one model. Some people gave me suggestions, but they didn't fully understand what I was trying to say here. So I showed off my idea here using custom properties. As you can see here, I'm switching the outfit and okay, I'm only switching the outfit here, but you can also switch the color scheme of skins by using the same method. And I got asked how to do this, so today I'm going to show you guys how to work with custom properties. Because in all fairness, it's not that difficult to understand. You just need a good explanation. So for this explanation, I'm going to make a custom property that switches between Beach Bomber's normal default style and her inked style that was released earlier this year. So for this to work, I'm going to import both edit styles. This will result in us having two models, but that's fine. You can delete this model anyway, or you can hide it if you want the texture names, but it's up to you. Now, before we can do anything fancy, we need to create the custom property itself. Now you can put this on anything you want, basically. You can put this on the armature of your skin, or you can put it on the mesh of the skin. In my personal opinion, it's better to put it on the armature, because in the example that I showed right here, I'm switching out the mesh, and if I put the custom property on this mesh, for example, and I switch to this mesh, then I can't use the custom property anymore unless I go into my hierarchy and select the mesh from there, which is unneeded work and a bit convoluted. So in my opinion, the best way to do this is to put it on the armature. Now, select your armature and go into the Object tab. Then click on Custom Properties and create a new custom property. By default, it will make a property called Prop, and this right here is a float. Now, we don't need a float for this use case. So we're gonna edit this property to fit our needs, basically. And you can do that by switching its type. If it's a float, as you saw earlier, then you can precisely choose a number between two values given earlier. In this case, it's 0 and 1. Well, for something like switching a color scheme or something, you don't need this. So we're gonna switch this float to an integer. This way, it's either 0 or 1, nothing in between. It will make it a lot easier and a lot faster to switch a mesh or color or whatever you're trying to do here. Next, we're gonna give it a name. In our use case, I'm gonna call it a style switcher, because we're gonna switch the edit style, and we're gonna switch the default value to 0. 0 will be the default style and 1 will be the inked style. And if you're feeling fancy, then you can even give it a description. Switches edit style. Then you press OK, and you're basically good to go. Now right click the number and copy data path. Once you've done that, go into the shading tab, select your mesh, so you open the shader in the shader editor. Now it's important to know what you're trying to change here. In this case, I know that Beach Bomber's new edit style has a different normal map and specular map besides the diffuse map. So I'm taking the diffuse map, copy it. I'm gonna take the specular map, copy it, and I'm gonna take the normal map and copy it. Next, we're gonna change the textures itself. So for the diffuse, we're gonna take the skate body D, that's the inked edit style. I'm gonna do the same for the specular map and the normal map. Now that we've done that, we're gonna add a mix color. And we're gonna drop it right in between. We're gonna set the vector to 0 for now. And we're gonna connect the skate body D to the B output, or input, I mean. And we're gonna copy this mix color and do the same thing here with the specular and the normals. Now, the easiest way to change all values at once is by grabbing a value node and connecting everything to the vector of the mix color. Now, right click the number in the value node and add a driver. It will give you the driver properties, and from here we can make the custom property work. Well, it's important we change the type to a single property, otherwise it will probably work, maybe it won't, I don't really know, but in this case we need a single property. And select the object that has your custom property. In our case, it's the armature. Now, it's asking for a path. We've copied this earlier, so just paste in the path. The most important thing about the driver is the expression. In this case, we can just keep it at var, because that's the name of this variable right here. And that's all we need to do for this right now. If you select the armature and you go to the custom properties and you change the style switcher, as you can see, it changes the textures. Since this is a newer edit style, you can see that it kind of broke the specular map. That's because they don't really match. So you can take the value node, and if you're using the FP shader, you can put this to the new specular and it will automatically fix the issue for you. So now if you switch the styles, it will also switch to the new specular method. Yeah, that's about it. It's fairly simple, but it does the job. Now that we've made our edit style switch, we can also create a custom property that hides and unhides objects. It basically works the same, it's just executed a little differently. In this case, I'm gonna grab a Suzanne, I mean, and put her right here. And we're going to create a new custom property. We're gonna make it an integer and monkey on / off. Put this to 0, okay. Copy data path, and here comes the different part. To hide an object, the easiest way to pull that off is to disable in viewport option. Enable this right here. And right click the icon and add a driver here too. Then put this to a single property too, and select the armature and paste in the path used for this custom property. Now the expression here can be the same as before, which is just far. As you can see now, if I turn this to 1, it hides the Suzanne. This is how you can hide and unhide specific parts of a skin, like if you have a hairpiece and a hat or something and you want to incorporate both into your model, you can use this method to switch between those two models. And how do you switch between two models? Let me quickly show you that too. We're gonna copy this driver right here and apply it to the cube. But we're gonna edit the expression. Blender works with scripting. You can script stuff and do whatever you want basically, and that specifically uses Python. Not that it's really relevant right now, but it's good to know at least the basics of coding, or at least if-else statements. Right here I'm going to make an easy if statement that checks if the current value is 0, and if the current value is 0, the driver value will be 1. So how do we do that? Well, 1 if far equals, double equals by the way, 0, else 0. And as you can see here, if I go to the armature again and switch this to 1, it will show the cube now. Okay, so that's basically the basics of custom properties. Like I said, it's pretty easy, you just need to know how it works. You first create a custom property on an object, then for our use case with Fortnite models, we put it to an integer, give it a name, change the values accordingly, add a description if you want, and then we make a driver. In most cases, you can keep it at just far, because it will read the current variable value, which in this case is 1, which means this cube will be shown, and the monkey will be hidden, and if we put it to 0, the opposite will be the case. But you can also make an if-else statement. So 1 if far equals 0, else 0. If y'all got any questions, don't be afraid to ask. I'll try to help out as much as possible. And I hope y'all can actually use this to your benefit.